Hi everybody, welcome to another Chats with Chaudhry. I hope you're safe and well. It's a lovely sunny afternoon here in Surrey, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Kathrin Rübberdt. I hope I pronounced that properly, from Dechema. And today we're going to be actually talking about the benefits of cooperation. So, Kathrin, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Unfortunately, it's not sunny anymore here. It's rather rainy, but well.
Oh, and where are you calling from? Berlin?
From Fulda. It's an hour north of Frankfurt.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully you had a lovely weekend anyway. It was sunny over the weekend. All right, good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. So the reason we're talking to Kathrin today is Dechema works very closely with Achema and Achema Pulse, which is running this month. And so we thought we'd take the opportunity actually to find out a little more about Dechema and also get from Kathrin's point of view, her understanding of what some of the developments are within pharma and some of the heroes within pharma from a Dechema perspective. So first, before we start talking about cooperation and how that's working within pharma, perhaps for those who are not familiar with Dechema, you could give them a very quick overview of the organization and also your role within it.
Yes, of course. Well, Dechema is really the thing behind Achema. We are a non-profit society, founded actually 6 years after the first Achema, which was organized by the same community, with a purpose of bringing engineers and chemists together for structured cooperation. And that's what we do up to today. It's more than just chemists and engineers today. It's also biotechnologists, data scientists, a lot of people from other disciplines because our topics have expanded so much. But basically, it's still the same thing. We are bringing people together.
Perfect. And what's your role within Dechema?
My role, well, I'm a chemist by training. I'm leading the biotechnology department and the communications department. So I have a good overview on everything we do. I'm maybe not the expert for the more detailed scientific stuff.
Fantastic. So my first question to you is that obviously, particularly over the last year or so, you've seen a lot more cooperation within pharma because of the pandemic. So how important is it to integrate all the different steps of the pharma value chain within pharma?
I think it's very important because if you look at our community, we have a lot of different working groups, and it starts with the identification of molecules that might become an API at one day. So you have your molecule, and then what do you do with it? So you need somebody who thinks about how to synthesize it, either chemically or by biotechnology. You need somebody to do the scale up. You have to think about bioprocesses. You have to think about controlling, measurements, sensors, all that stuff. You need somebody to formulate your actual medication, right? And that's pretty much how far we go at Dechema. We have all those steps. And then comes Achema, where you can buy the equipment up to the packaging line and all the logistics parts. So, and you can't do one without the other. And what we see in process development especially is that you don't go anymore step by step. It's more about taking an integrated approach. So you have the process engineer right from the beginning, you know, even while you're developing, say, your production organisms, if you're in biotechnology, you already have the process engineer there thinking about how can I build the reactor, how can I design the downstream processing, everything. It goes much faster. It takes less, less unsuccessful steps. It's really important because things are so complex these days. You just can't go step by step and then break off at some point after 90% of the whole value chain has already been covered, right?
Right. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, particularly if you think in the pandemic, they were talking about doing the clinical trials concurrently as they were actually developing the vaccines as well. So, you know, that is obviously a real example of that, isn't it? Of what's going on right now in terms of pharma.
Definitely. And it's something I think well, I don't want to say there are good things about the pandemic, but some lessons learned or some things that have become more visible is how many stakeholders take a role in these things. You know, it's not just about, well, I have a messenger RNA or I have some vector vaccine. It's about a lot more things.
Right. And from your sort of view, what have you seen as some of the hidden science and hidden heroes behind pharma over the last 12, 18 months?
I think it's, well, as I said, there's a tendency to focus on the actual active ingredient, which is really important because in the end, it's the thing that protects you. But you need so many more people to do this. We have the ingredient, but you need the processing. You need all the people who develop the separators, the production lines, the packaging. You think about the logistics. You have to cool the whole thing. You have to provide vials and everything so that you can actually package your stuff. And I think this joint effort should become more obvious. And if you have followed the news over the past couple of weeks, some of the bottlenecks are not actually the active ingredients. It's more about, well, other ingredients such as lipids or stuff, you need to formulate your vaccine for the treatment. And it's as important as the actual active ingredient. So there's a lot of hidden heroes there. We are talking about a couple of big companies, or small, in the German case, small companies, who are very, very successful. And it's really a tremendous effort producing something like this within a year. I mean, it's unheard of before. But there are a lot of other companies and a lot of other players also involved who have really contributed in a big way.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, actually, because I've done a few interviews with a few other companies, and they've pointed out how, for example, if you look at clean room contamination, the disinfectants and stuff that they use in those spaces, that's shot up through the roof, the use of that, but that has an impact all the way through in terms of keeping things sterile, because if there's a shortage in one area, that has an impact there. And similarly, if you look at the vial market or the pre-filled syringes and stuff like that, they have an impact as well. So it is quite amazing how everything is intertwined, and people don't realize actually how things are interconnected through the whole value chain there. So, I mean, what would you see then as some of the trends that have sort of developed over the last 12 months or so?
I think we will see some very good examples. We have a startup award, which is, well, it will actually be awarded at Achema in April 2020, but next week at Achema Pulse, you have a chance to meet all the finalists already. And some of them are in the chemical sector and some are in pharma. And I think the pharmaceuticals one cover quite nicely some of the trends we see. So some of them are active in the field of development of new ingredient platforms. So they're not just developing one molecule for one disease, they're trying to build whole platforms of molecule families that can be adjusted to different diseases. And I think that's one big trend, because we're running out a little bit in some places of medication for some diseases. Another one is the carrier systems, bringing the pharmaceutical actually to the target cell. We have also some startups who are dealing with that. How do you get your active medication into the patient, to the right place, to the right cell, ideally? Then we have a trend towards personalized medicine, but that's not always just somebody designing a molecule which is exactly the right one for you. It's also sometimes about monitoring drug levels. So it's the same drug for everybody, but you need to monitor very closely how your metabolism works and what dosage you need actually as a patient. That's one startup we also see that's active there. And we have some that are active in the field of downstream processing and also of measurements and control of pharmaceutical applications. So those are really big trends, which are in a way very close to the patient. Maybe a bit out of the process engineering box that we usually are more active in, but I think very relevant, and there's a lot of science in that as well.
That's brilliant. And where can people get more information on those startups that you just talked about?
We have a whole series which will go online this week on the Achema website, and we have the finalist pitches next week on Tuesday, on the 15th of June from 9:20, and then you can meet all 10 finalists. There's some other interesting stuff as well. It's not just pharma, and I think they have a lot to offer. It's quite amazing what they do with small teams, young people mostly, right out of university, but full of enthusiasm and visions. It's great.
Fantastic. So these are all available on the Achema Pulse website or on the Achema website?
Yeah, well, it's the same thing more or less at the Achema magazine section.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So we'll put the link to that above this video so people can click on it and get more information from there as well. Perfect. Well, I know that's all we've got time for. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk a little bit about what Dechema is and who they are, because I didn't know actually until you explained it just now. And some of the trends which you can see developing across pharma. So thank you very much for your time. I wish you a lot of success over the next 12 months. I'm sure you'll be doing a lot of planning as well, work with the team around Achema 22 when it goes live as well next year, because there'll be a lot of work for that, I'm guessing.
It will. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and see you at Achema.
I look forward to it. Yeah, well, so there you go, viewers. If you'd like to know more about the businesses and the trends that Kathrin was talking about, and learn more about Dechema as well, then please check out the link which will be above the video. You can find that. Achema Pulse itself is running right now. The platform went live on May the 31st and runs all the way through to June the 30th. And the actual live event, we will see lots of live talks and presentations and so on, will actually be running from the 15th and 16th. And the link for that, again, will be above the video. So I hope you found it useful. Kathrin, thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely event. Hopefully the sun will come out for you this week and for the rest of the summer. And thank you all for watching. As always, until next time, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.